We're going to call the meeting to order for Monday, March the 16th. This time, if everyone could join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we probably need to do some kind of a roll call because we see who all's here. Let's see, I thought Drew's not here. Chris, you on the phone? Can you hear?
I can.
Okay, Kaya, can you hear?
Yes.
And Stephanie, can you hear? Okay, she's not texting me.
You want me to call her?
Stephanie says she can hear by text, so I don't know. Maybe she just has the mute on her phone, so she's not responding. We've got a quorum, so we'll try to move forward unless I watch my phone if she calls in. Before we kind of jump into the meeting, thanks for those that made it. It's been a crazy week. Thanks to the staff and everyone for all the extra accommodations for us setting up the meeting. I know Lauren, Tanya, Audra have been in meetings with a lot of planning, and we probably owe Barb a huge shout out with all this to getting food to a bunch of kids. So a lot of quick responses to a difficult situation here. I'll move into the agenda. We have need to make two adjustments to the agenda. I guess I would, so before we prove that, I would move we amend the agenda. And the first item, there was a late addition, it's on your agenda, but we need to add it, is the refinancing of the 2013 bonds as an action item 5.1. And for 5.2, and move the CTE position out of the consent agenda into action item 5.2. Is there a second?
I second it.
All right, those in favor, please say, we'll do like a roll call here and say aye. Aaron?
It's Justin.
Aye.
Justin?
I can hear on the
Aye.
computer too.
Are those online? Stephanie?
I just muted it.
Aye.
Okay, Chris?
Aye.
And,
Aye.
all right, all, motion carried. Agenda is amended and approved. Okay, the reading recovery team, out of the spirit of the minimizing exposure to people, they have been postponed tonight. Construction update. I guess that jumps into Esky and Associates. You're first.
Here we go. Okay.
We might say everyone should have, Lauren forwarded an email, I believe, that has Bill's
Yes.
presentation. So if you have your computer, you can pull that up and follow along.
And it may be better, because it's hard to read off of the screen. If you have it on your computer, that would be great. I'm Bill Adams. Erin had another obligation, so this will be a rare occasion when I'm reporting to you. She's the boss. She's the one that'll be doing most of the reporting. This is a monthly report. The first page that you have from Esky talks about the master budget and contingencies. The first group, there's no change from last month. The second group of substantial completion dates, there's no change from last month. Key deliverables, probably the one that we're all looking for is the site GMP package. That'll be May 4th. So that will turn us loose to do the site utility work. Under the key milestone dates, the only change there was we moved the relocation date to the new learning center up to December 2nd, 21 from December 30th. So basically, things are pretty static. We're in the process of the design from SDs to DDs. And the second page is just a list of ongoing activities. There we go. And I'm not going to go through these. If the board has any questions, the maintenance facility and fuel station, we know what we're doing there. And on the abatement, we'll report that we will have to do a small amount of hazardous material abatement, and Esky and Associates will find contractors, get bids, and bring to you costs for your approval. I think the good news is it's not a big number, and you never know when you're looking for that.
And the abatement was based on the actual surveys that they did, right?
That's correct, yes. Utility relocation costs, I think that's gonna be bid on the 21st of this month.
Here we advertise, I think, the second or third of April.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I didn't mean this month, I mean April 21st. So we advertise early April, about the 21st, we'll be ready to review bids. And the one thing I wanted to mention, the teacher and design development meetings have been held and are ongoing. I believe the architect is taking the first round of comments under advisement, and there will be a second round of meetings with the teachers. So we're going to do our best to keep them involved. I believe the next, do you have any questions about this update?
So, just a comment about timeline. And I know that this was brought up Wednesday at our meeting. Through the coronavirus situation and schools being shut down, it may affect our timelines, and we'll just have to keep on top of that. Of course, we'll help with that. So, I think Joel or somebody asked me about that Wednesday, so.
Okay.
You know, one
Yeah.
thing that'd be good as we think about, and totally get that there will be timeline implications, nothing we can do about it. It'd be good to think through, you know, being out of school a month, what that might do to the timeline
Oh, yeah.
and the cost. So
Yeah,
just some risk analysis there.
I think that's very feasible.
You know, I don't think it needs to be like a down to the penny, but, you know, some kind of risk analysis to say, you know, if this, it's probably between $1 million and $1.5 million, or, you know, some range to say, well,
Mhm.
just so we know what we're up against.
Yep.
Okay. I'll carry that message to the contractor.
Yep.
Who's not here, who will work on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Josh?
Yeah.
DLR wants to talk about traffic.
Yeah, if we could go to the next slide, go to the updated colored site plan. The last time we spoke over the schematic layout, there was a little bit of concern about site circulation. I think we could improve on that, and I think more so allocate more student lots onto the east side of the campus. So we went back and we went through a series of 6 or 7 more site options and analysis of trying to hone in on the right circulation and parking scope. We went back and forth with each other. I believe Aaron and Lauren reviewed a couple of layouts and existing conditions. We eventually ended up bumping up the proposed student count to 300. That was just a target number we gave ourselves. We actually ended up with this revised layout you see, ended up getting about 314 stalls for students. And put that in perspective, today we counted there's approximately 269 dedicated student lots. And by dedicated student lots, that would be the lot directly north of the high school and then east. It does not include the lot between West Campus and Main Campus and north of West Campus. So again, existing today, there's 269 student lots. And with this layout up there, we're proposing 314 student stalls. So you're
And that's without where the practice field is, I assume, and that.
Yeah, what you're seeing over the practice field right now is how an additional 200 parking stalls could be planned for the future. Now you do lose a practice field with that, but you have additional practice space to the west side of the campus. So as expansion occurs in the future, you have an additional 200 stalls up there. So grand total, that takes us to today, the campus has 419 parking stalls. And then with this layout, we're at 482 parking stalls. So we're closer to 500, where today you're closer to 400. Also, to add to that, we pulled off and made a dedicated drive to pull students into the site quicker off the highway, off of Main Street. There was some concern last time with pulling students through parking lots, so we were able to pull off and provide a dedicated drive, if you will. So that's just a very broad overview of the updated parking layout and revised plan.
And then what was the additional cost of the revision?
The additional cost, I know McCown Gordon's separately tracking that, because we were supposed to hold to roughly 419 stalls, and we exceeded that. I don't have a number, but I can get that update from Joel.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah.
What's it do, on some of those to go to angle parking instead of the straight end parking?
I think the geometry, I don't know if there's any inefficiencies with going to angle parking and the geometry. I know we're actually working through some of that right now on
The
CD.
most efficient layout is the headed parking. And so if we have the room, it's really nice to take advantage of that. It reduces, if you go to the angle of day, reduce parking stall depth, reduce drive aisle, so the most efficient is the head end. Then it gives you the most flexibility on site. If you have to change something, a routing plan or something like that, it's a lot easier to do.
Any other questions? Then I think we can move on to utilities, site utilities.
So one of the action items in front of you guys today is getting authorization to move forward with dedicating these easements for the relocated utilities. And so we drafted these documents for water and sewer. So to back up, when we had our kickoff meeting with the city of Tonganoxie, obviously has jurisdiction over the water and sewer. In order to get those easements approved, we had to go through their site plan process. So to get that, to go through their site plan process, we needed direction from you all. Obviously, you want to see the site plan before we showed anything to the city, so that's kind of the background how we got here today. The city engineer, we've sent some preliminary copies to them. They've not reviewed this. We don't have approval of the plan, so there still may be minor tweaks to the alignments of the water and the sewer, but just understanding that overall we have this corridor set aside. There have given preliminary approvals of what we have, but of the alignments we have to date. But again, they haven't approved these yet, but they have in concept. So there may be very minute changes to these recorded easement documents, but they should be very, very minimal in nature, and that will come through their site plan review process, if that makes sense. And so we have been in close coordination along with DLR's electrical engineer with relocation of the power and the gas. For them to give us a real hard alignment, they need the actual building loads, which kind of come after we get to that DD level later this summer. But we're working off preliminary estimates, obviously what the school is using today, to kind of help guide what size those services need to be. And they've both agreed to, in concept again of the preliminary alignments following that corridor between the west and the east campus. Gas has come back, Kansas Gas, and said that right now, kind of the existing gas main is over by the current administration building, so we had shown kind of a preliminary alignment looping back to that just as recently as today. They want to shoot us back straight across under State Avenue, so we don't have this kind of circumnavigation of the campus with their gas line. So to reduce their liability, they want it to be as efficient as possible, as most direct route as possible, so that will involve a connection under State Avenue, is what they've told us today. But past that, I think things are moving forward, and again, with approval today of the site plan and concept, and with these utility easements, we're taking tomorrow, the city's been very flexible, taking tomorrow with our site plan application to the city to start that process with them. So at the next, I believe it's in 2 weeks, we'll have a planning commission meeting and then a city council meeting to approve those easements and the site plan.
I believe April 2nd is a planning commission date. That will be on the agenda.
Have any of the folks that you've talked to around the utility easements wanted us to do things that we shouldn't want to do, or that don't align with what you would wanna see us do?
No, I think it's, the city's been great to work with. Obviously, they're kind of between, you know, literally a rock and a hard place between where the school wants to have their building expansion and the current West Campus. So, they've been flexible on, you know, materials, backfill requirements. I think we're gonna use clean rock backfill, for the most part. But yeah, they've been flexible and very accommodating to date.
So if I'm clear, you need a motion for tonight for us to approve this site plan and this easement.
And the easements, yeah. Final executable documents to come at a later date, but nothing really signed at this point, but just, approval of the easements.
Approval to move forward with
Yeah.
the city.
To present to the city.
I don't think we had this on our agenda, but we can amend and add it in here. I guess, I don't know, we're gonna have to, I know we're gonna have a lot of these coming, so we're gonna have to figure out how we, I guess, get these in advance next time when we get on the agenda, or how we go about doing all this.
Yeah, the timing of this hasn't been great with where we were at with some of the concepts and all the changes to the site plan, and then to back this up and get it on the city schedule, we needed all this. So again, appreciate your guys' flexibility as well, letting us kind of cram these things together.
Let me ask, I just want to be clear, we need these easements for sewer and
Water.
water.
So there'll be additional easement for gas and power when they're comfortable with those routings.
The other utilities won't require this kind of action.
They will, but we won't be held to the same city review process. That's the timing
There we go. There's
hold up.
the time.
Is that those will just be documents that we can have pinned down, everybody's acceptable to the alignment, and bring to you without having to go through another separate approval process.
And this is, okay, just because it moves over a few feet, it doesn't fit into the old easement, or I assume there's already like an easement there.
There is, which we'll have to vacate those, but we're moving it, several hundred feet
Okay.
to accommodate the future expansion to the west of the CTE building.
All right. Is there any further update on the?
No, this was the action item that we needed your approval to move forward. And this is the last thing in our report.
All right, well, thank you guys for coming. I think, at this time, I'd probably move that we amend the agenda again and add item 5.3 for this easement under our action items. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? I guess we'll do the roll call vote again. Justin?
Aye.
Jim? Aye. Karen?
Aye.
All right, Chris?
Aye.
Karen? Kaya?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Transportation update, Mitch.
I don't have a whole heck of a lot for you guys today with everything else. Basically where we're at is they've done some preliminary work to kind of review the site we had chosen for the transportation. The big issue that they came across is the sewage line is out in front of the elementary, so we're talking about a pretty lengthy run to get that down there, possibly installing a pump and doing some things like that. Kind of similar to this, they've got to run all that through the city. And so right now we've got a number on what it would cost to get the site work all finished up, get it zoned with the city and get them on board with our plan to move it down there and answer some of those questions. So that's kind of where we're at, looking at what that process would be. And then once we finish that and got that all back, then we would be able to move forward with the bidding process as far as sending it out to multiple companies for the parking lot and or the building addition.
So where are we on the timeline of needing approval on?
The timeline is kind of up to us, to be honest with you. I spoke to them today, told them obviously we got some other craziness going on right now. So they're kind of holding tight with what we need. We would just have to approve, to pay them to go ahead and move forward, to meet with the city to, create the plan and get the site plan approval from them and the hours that associated with their cost, as well as the cost with getting the site work done.
Kind of high level, but Mark, you're working on this project, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so, just from the 30,000 foot level, what are you all doing from your point of view?
Well, right now, Crookham's reached out and asked for our preliminary assessment and what our would be to get involved. So we provided them that and then shared with them the same concerns that sewer's gonna be an issue of where that's at. And so I think that's more my engagement today.
So I've got the number from Crookham for the total package to get them involved, to get their work done, to get the work done with Crookham, to get, with the city and all that, and what that costs. It's just a matter of deciding if we want to move forward with that, or if we want to go kind of put a hole in the project, or.
I mean, it's, again, we don't really have an action, I mean,
Could be geez.
well, Chris, I don't know, can you you have some time to get with Mitch to maybe sort through where we head with this? Chris?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Say what?
I guess, will you have some time to get with Mitch to kind of sort through where we're at on this project? And
Yeah, I can.
help the board?
Actually, I can.
I mean, I think if we can, I think we need to maybe get a little more information.
Yeah,
and
I've
assess-
got the information. It's just a matter of, and I can give it to Chris, and we
Yeah,
can.
I know you haven't had a lot of time either, really, in the last few
I
days.
feel we're gonna have a little bit of time on our hands here before, so we might have some time to make that happen.
And then that would need board approval.
Yeah, so we can, I mean, if we want to do that, I can sit down with him and we can chat about it a little more, and we can come
Yeah,
back.
that'd be
with
good.
actual-
What our options, what our requirements are, and try to expedite this, but within the rules, I guess, that we're held to on all the different projects. I mean,
I
it's
don't-
about engaging Schlegel, right?
Yeah.
Right, it's just about approving the cost to go with Schlegel, and then also to deal with the city and get all approved, so that we can actually know what it's gonna cost to do that, or if there's other options and things like that.
'Cause we don't want to leave you hanging out there, because you've already done a lot of work.
No, yeah,
Yeah, they're just waiting to go ahead from Crookham, so they're kind of managing this phase of the process.
I mean, it doesn't sound like it's something we were gonna act on tonight, but it's something we can act on fairly soon as we get a little bit of information, get situated.
The next board meeting's about 3 weeks off.
We can have them.
So make sure I get it on.
If
the
we don't have any,
agenda.
if we don't have any special meetings before then.
Is there something going on?
Yeah, there might
All right.
be.
Thanks for the update,
Thank you,
keep
guys.
pushing that thing forward.
Thanks, perfect, thank you.
Somebody walked out, I'm gonna let in.
It's probably, yes.
You waiting on somebody?
Yes, KSB.
Next item is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. President, I've moved to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second? All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. We'll start with the folks on speaker, I guess. Stephanie,
Yes.
Kaya,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Aye.
Justin,
Yes.
Karen, and aye. Motion carried. All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Bill.
With that, we will move on to, there's public forum. I assume we have no public comments. Reports, Lauren.
Okay, this could actually turn into a Q&A of where we're at. So on the C virus 19 school closure information, right now we are currently closed until March 22nd. I think the percentage of that changing in the next day or two is more than likely. Just going to tell you, it's some counties to the south of us and west of us are already 2 weeks. And Leavenworth County went 1 week. Listening to Dale Dennis and Dr. Randy Watson, there's an extreme high probability of going week to week unless the governor or somebody steps in and saying, you're gonna be out 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. But as you can tell in the news, I mean, it's gone beyond a concern. And what they keep saying is we're not even to the worst part of this. It hasn't hit that peak and then started to decline. So I just wanted to let everybody know we had an administrative meeting this morning with principals, with the coordinators, directors, people in our office were all there present for that. And they are working on communication. They're working on plans for a long length of being out of school. And I think I'll have Tanya address that, during her, some of those options they're looking at, either with online coverage, or she can, probably address that a lot better than me at this point. So, we're also looking at our end of the school year, which is up in the air. What we're battling from the education department is the minimum of 1,116 hours required for, that's the minimum of hours you need to have in order for it to be considered a school year. I think there's a chance that that'll be altered. It hasn't been at this time. We're also fighting seniors graduation minimum hours. It's, was it 1084? 86. 1086. That is a huge concern if we have to push things back. So that there is a likelihood, I'm not going to use likelihood, but there is that situation where we may be going to school in June. We could make changes with length of day. Maybe there's some professional development days we might be able to be in school and one. Okay, well there's one. So it's just it's an unbelievably evolving situation for the school district. I think everybody could say they've never experienced anything like this. Right now, I'm listening into about our Zoom meetings with Dr. Randy Watson, our education commissioner for Kansas. Dale Dennis is involved in that. There's so many factors here that are being challenged. Special education services are huge. So we had a meeting this afternoon at 2 o'clock on that. So Donna Foy is helping us with that. And of course, Basers, their situation and our situation is tightly connected through SPED services. So I guess, do you have questions of what we're trying to do? I can't emphasize enough that we are trying to do the very best with communication from each building. And some of you might have, I don't know if you guys did, but I saw Chuck's.
I got Chuck's.
I saw Chuck's. They're just trying to have a plan. Teachers are communicating with their respective building leadership, 2 or 3 times a day, it almost seems like. So just that, we feel pretty good about the communication piece. Tanya's been outstanding, helping send out district-wide messages. I don't know how many people are contacting you. Probably more Tanya than me, just because there's a lot of the messages coming from Tanya. So that's great that we have that team effort, I think, in this whole situation. So, yes.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
I know, for example, in California, a good friend of mine, they're out until April 17th, but because all of the students in their classrooms have electronics, they're already taking online, their curriculum has already continued. They're already doing the online classes, and I know that the communication that we sent out today said that we will send assignments out, but they're not graded, and all of that, but I just wonder if there's plans, I don't know, to
I'll take Kyle.
proactive in setting up for that, if it comes to that, or?
We are certainly not prepared for the elementary students being able to be online from home. And that's based on the fact that we haven't sent Chromebooks home.
No, elementary devices are still at the elementary.
Yeah.
I think our high school and middle school options are more flexible. And
Right.
depending on how long we could possibly be out would affect, I think, how we would view online teaching. Some teachers would thrive at it, and I think would do a great job. We're not there yet. And
Yeah,
that's
well, I just didn't know if we need to be more, I mean, if that conversation needs to be more proactive. I mean, I guess what they're doing in their school district is the teachers actually go to the classroom and they, you know, have online, like we're having the same thing we're doing now. They're just doing classes as online.
Yeah.
But the teachers are in their classrooms.
Personally, I think this is probably the last time we'll be in this building for quite a while. Our plan is not to have staff in our buildings. Almost any staff. So, and that includes custodial, maintenance, teachers, coaches. So, but we had a long talk about it this morning, Kaya, about what our options are, what our capabilities are at this time. And a lot of that is determined by how long we'll be out. So,
Okay.
thank you. Yeah.
So,
I thought,
Oh, yeah,
can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Stephanie.
yes.
I thought I heard that the State Board of Education suspended the rules for attendance.
Not yet.
Am I wrong on that?
Not yet. It's one of their biggest considerations, but that has not happened yet. And so, initially, we were asked to fill out a waiver, and then it would run by the State Board of Education, and then Dale and Randy Watson told us at 12:30 today to hold off on that. And I personally think that the governor could step in, and maybe the State Board of Education being more proactive in giving us some guidance. But right now, we don't have that, Stephanie. So
Okay.
we were told just hang on, and they'll try to help us with this process with the minimum number of hours, and so that's really where we're at. So I don't have anything to apply for right now.
So Lauren, I think the questions that Kaya and Stephanie asked are the right questions around the education, but what about dollars? You know, how does this affect our budget, particularly when we've got things like the transportation issue? Now, I know you got a CapEx and OpEx situation there, but does it put us in a hardship from a budget perspective?
The way it would, and I wouldn't say hardship, the way it would is, the question around the state is, do you pay classified staff now? I mean, they're not working, obviously, but people that are on salary, teaching staff, administration, we're already being paid. But your sped paras, your bus drivers, but right now, the only group that we have working really is some of our kitchen staff and our district office. And, because Audrey will be payroll, amongst other things that she has to get done. So, but the additional cost could possibly be if school year gets extended 4 weeks into late May, early June, you're gonna have some staff working additional hours, and we have that information on 1 week, 2 weeks, and 3 weeks that we're gonna talk about here later, and Audrey's got that. So that would be it, really. That's just one of the topics that we've been talking, it's a topic of high concern.
I asked him yesterday to kind of get some breakdowns on that so we can figure out what's the best and fairest way to proceed.
I think the only other thought would be, and I don't know how it affects the open meeting laws, but I gotta think the next school board meeting is gonna be a virtual event.
Yes.
So we probably need to understand that.
Okay,
Maybe
very
we could
good.
do somebody that could keep us out of trouble there, we could.
I don't see anybody.
Yeah.
No, I thought about that today, and I think we even considered, we just weren't quite ready for that move.
No, I get it.
But I think April we will have to.
Okay.
It feels that way. Okay. Anybody else? I'm very proud of our staff. The communication this morning was very, very good across the board. Everybody contributed, had some good ideas. Everybody's working on finding a good solution.
I think the meals was a really nice touch.
Well, actually, the KC Star's coming out and doing a story on it, and probably Mr. Lindberger will be doing a story, or he asked, he talked about it. So it's been met with very positive. Barbara was right on top of that. As soon as we started talking about extending this, but we were probably gonna have to call off this week, so.
It's nice.
Yeah, it was very positive, and she had that done in about an hour and a half, and got it approved, so that's kind of where we're at on this, it's, believe me, it seems like by the hour, it changes, so that's where we're at. And then I put in just a little bit of information about this, the college career and CT coordinator position. I think the very first thing I need to emphasize, this will not cost the school district any additional dollars. This is, in my opinion, a win-win situation for the students, for the parents. This is a topic that we've talked about a lot, of trying to get additional help with, working with future plans by our students in all areas. So I kind of just put in a little blurb of this, and then I think did I get the rest of it?
I think you sent the job description out.
Yeah, if you got that, that's perfect. And so we've been working on this for about 3 weeks, pretty hard. And we feel it's just I know that the staff is excited about this opportunity. This frees up our counselors to really counsel, and then it gives our students more opportunities for college and career readiness type discussions at a much more deeper level than we can now. So I highly hope that that's an approved.
We had this on the consent agenda, which is typical, but given we talked about it previously and Lauren had more information, I just wanted to make sure we moved it to action items so everyone can
Yes,
any questions.
You'd mentioned no cost. How?
What we're doing is we're taking a teacher who presently is a business teacher, does other responsibilities as well. They'll stay at the exact same salary.
Okay.
There's no supplemental or a bump in any, it doesn't change any of that. The audit, we got our audit back, and of course, the biggest thing, we had talked about this briefly, but the biggest hit was, and Tom, you can it was on our CTE hours. And there, you can, if you don't mind just addressing that real quick, because it was just how you counted the hours and how it transferred through Skyward.
Yeah, we've done it forever, and for whatever reason, we've always had to hand calculate those. And this year, the hand calculations looked exactly like our Skyward calculations, and that's what we submitted, and it turned out that those were not correct. So we have to go back and figure out where the errors are inside those calculations and make those changes. So
it made a difference in our weighting.
yeah, just
That was
piece
it,
of
yeah.
yeah.
We were very close on about everything else
Yes.
except that. So,
I mean, it has minimal budget impact if I.
right,
from
it's money we
Lauren's
never,
standpoint.
it's money we weren't banking on. I mean, sometimes those FTE numbers go up and that's kind of like a bonus, but that's it. No. But just wanted to make sure everybody knew that it was out there. A couple other things just to kind of touch on. I talked to Ryan Sanders Sunday, and they're going to be able to turn the West Haven Baptist Church over to us around April 12th.
Does this COVID-19 situation impact that at all?
I hope, well, it could, but we're pretty flexible on that. They're not quite moved out, but they feel like they'll be completely moved out by the 12th, and I guess there is a chance it could change that. But I have lined up help in moving on April 27th, Monday. So that's that. I talked to Erin, and she's just waiting on some final numbers on work comp. We've been talking. That's the only thing holding up that contract. They're comfortable with not rushing to get this contract signed until it's the way the school board feels they
Well,
want.
Drew, I sat in with, and Drew, I owes a lot of credit for, I think all the changes were made. There were just some questions on insurance, and
Mhm.
I think those have been lingering, but it sounds like they're being addressed by her. So, I mean, she's still working for us. We just don't actually have a
Signed
signed contract.
So I'm confident we'll get that done here in the next couple of weeks, I would hope. CBIZ, we did have a health insurance cost meeting. The only thing that we know right now, after 3 months of our new Humana coverage, we're very, very pleased with the Go 365. That's that stay healthy kind of attitude, and Audra and Becky have been big parts of having events, contests, all sorts of things lined up. There's prizes. So probably everybody in the district office but me is winning a prize. So I'm kind of waiting for that. I was told you have to go out and exercise. So I'm behind the 8 ball on that one. Our initial cost, I'm not saying I'm disappointed, but we're not there yet. I mean, we could be in line for a pretty considerable health insurance increase. And through Go 365, we're at least headed towards a 5% reduction. And I think we could reach 7, right? And that's the good news. So instead of having a 23% increase, we could be 5 to 7% lower. And that's all on the staff. Okay. Negotiations, we'll probably have to cancel our meeting.
Yes.
Haven't done that yet. We've had some, I think, really positive, productive initial meetings with TEA. Good dialogue. We'll see. I mean, it's just one of those things that we work hard to prepare for no surprises, and that's kind of where we're at. So, any questions? Okay, thank you.
Tanya?
All right, well, the report I had planned went all out the door with all of this going on. I was going to update on state assessments and BCT and all of those things. So we have been in a lot of discussions and planning on what do we do with school not being here. When you don't have students and teachers in your building, how do you do school? So currently, we're in a waiting pattern to see what happens with the state and how that works. So we put together with our administrators this morning communication from our administrators to the teachers and to the parents, and then from the teachers to the students on some enrichment type activities. Right now, we don't feel like we're ready to say, hey, we're going to do school online, we're going to take grades on this. Right now, it's just optional enrichment activities with your children. So at this point, Forrest and I had met, weeks ago about, are we prepared to do any kind of online? Well, we feel like logistically, yeah, we can make that happen, but we've not provided any training to our teachers on how do you do online school? How do you teach in that mode? We have some devices, we have some capabilities, but we've not provided that training to teachers. It is very different teaching to students in an online atmosphere. And we might have some of the capabilities, but we just have not pulled that trigger yet on teaching teachers to do that. Teachers feel comfortable making assignments on Google Classroom, but how is that teaching? We can make assignments all day long, but the instruction piece of it is our concern. How are teachers delivering the instruction to students? Or are we just assigning assignments and then students are teaching themselves, or parents are teaching our students? That's not what we want to have happen. We feel like we can get there logistically from a middle school or high school aspect, but our elementary students don't really have that capability. Also, we do have some teachers who maybe don't have internet access at home. And our students, we know we have some students who do not have that access at home. We do have companies offering this access for free, but if you live in rural areas, yeah, it's great that Spectrum is offering this to you, but Spectrum doesn't come out to this area, So some of our students cannot, even though these companies are offering it for free, they're just in areas or pockets where they can't get internet access. So we're trying to work through all of those things. We are thinking and planning, but, you know, again, we're gonna wait for direction from the Kansas State Department of Education on what we need to be doing, what we can do, what will make a difference, and we're just trying to make that happen. So, please know that there's a lot of discussion going on in the background, and our teachers are talking, our teachers are concerned, and our students are concerned, and parents are concerned. We know that, and we're working and planning and thinking, so just stay tuned. We're receiving updates, and we're getting those out to everyone as we get them, so that's.
I have a question. Do we have any idea of what the number would be of those students who do not have internet access at home?
We did, yes, we did a survey not too long ago. Gary Richmond had that information. It wasn't a lot, but it was more than I thought it was going to be. So, and for a lot of those students, they're in those rural areas where they just can't get good access.
We have some partnership with Sprint where we can hand out hotspots to those kids, but right now we probably only got 5 or 6 handed out because the other ones didn't work in their areas.
It's fun.
Yeah, and we have, you know, personally, I have access at my house, but it's not very good. It takes me about 3 times as long to do things. And last year, my son was a tech intern. He tried one of the hotspots at our house, and it wouldn't work either. So, you know, we're dealing with, these are uncharted waters that we are working in right now. So we appreciate everyone's patience.
Sometimes it seems surreal.
Yes, I never thought in my lifetime we would be dealing with this pandemic, so this is definitely.
So, I mean, you said Sprint has opportunities available. Is there any other companies that do, or can we approach companies that seem to have larger coverage with a higher download speed?
You know, they're putting things out there on a daily basis through the media. Like Spectrum says they're offering free internet access. Well, we can't put that here. So I know Sprint has offered, and there are several others that are just coming out saying, hey, we'll give free access, but.
Free access is awesome. I mean, we had to go Pixius, and it's a little more expensive, but it beats a Wi-Fi card.
Right,
That's
right.
what my kids were using when we started this.
I worry about those families who maybe live in areas that we just can't get any kind of access to, or if we get them some kind of access, do those families have the ability to reach out to those companies, and or will they? And
Is that something this could do on their behalf? I mean, I don't know, would they cut us a better deal?
Once again, I don't know if we're ready for that discussion yet. We haven't had it. And sometimes you feel that some of those, like free service, it's not really free service. Just
I certainly don't want to rope families into
Yeah.
a commitment that we
I-
Well, no.
yeah, yeah.
Well, it's pretty challenging around here just with our geography. I mean, when I lived in the country, I only had one option. I mean,
We've only got one option, and it's not very good.
It's a silo, so that's our
It,
tower.
but it is definitely in our conversation, so we'll just let Forrest fix it.
yeah, it's all his fault. Right?
Yeah.
All right. If Tanya's done, we will move into action items. Sorry, this is maybe it's first some of you got this information. Action 5.1 last week. Piper Jaffray was in touch with us, and the bond market dropped substantially. And the bonds that we have out there for 2013 that probably tied to this building, they were recommending that we look at refinancing those. And if there was a handout on the agenda, you can see like even when we issued the other bonds and refinanced them earlier, they recommend like a 3% guideline, and they're anticipating a 9.59% savings, which is roughly $1.26 million. So, you know, that market moves every day, but I mean, you know, when we adopted the resolution last time, they don't proceed unless on the day of closing they can at least get us that 3% savings. So, I mean, it seems pretty logical to me that I guess we would go forward with that. I know Dustin's not here, but I don't know if anybody has any questions.
We could call him if you want, but it looks like a good win-win here bond sale or refinance.
Any lower today?
Could be.
Well, I mean, the, I watched the 10-year treasury and it was, I mean, it crossed below 1 last week for like the first time in 150 years, and it got lower than 0.5, and it was in the 0.7 to 0.8 today. So, I mean, it's not, you know, whatever the figure he's got there, it may be slightly off, but it's still way better than what, well, I think he even notes that they anticipate like a 1.92% rate on the bonds if we refi, and we're currently at 3.54. So I would assume we're still fairly close to that number. Any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion. Well, here, why don't I just go ahead and, we did this before and I read the whole thing, and I'm not gonna do that this time. I would move that we adopt a resolution contained in the minutes to refinance the 2013 Series A bonds. Would there be a second?
Second it.
All right, we'll do roll call again. Karen?
Aye.
Justin?
Aye.
Kaya?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried, 6-0. All right, thank you everyone for that. Then there'll be the 2 items that we adjusted and added to the minutes. Like action 5.2 is the CTE position. Again, it seems like a no-brainer. I don't know if there's any further questions on that for Lauren. If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the CTE position. Is there a second? Oh, I guess I just asked for a motion. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the CTE position.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All in favor? Chris?
Aye.
I'm gonna make you say aye every time. Kaya?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Justin?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Jim? All right, motion carried. And the last item would be item 5.3 with the presentation from Schlegel with the easement to get that to the city to move along the school project. Is there a motion to approve that easement?
I move that we approve the sewer and water easements as well as the site plan.
Is there a second?
Second it.
All right, all in favor? Justin?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Kaya?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. With that, the board needs to adjourn to executive session, so I would make a motion to adjourn to executive session for 20 minutes to just protect the, to discuss non-elected personnel matter. I would invite Lauren, Tanya, and our KSB, Angie, our KSB attorney. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, just say aye.
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 All right, motion carried. Can we get that in there and it'll remain? We'll call the meeting back into session following executive session. And Chris, Kaya, and Stephanie, you can all hear?
Yep.
All
I
right.
can hear.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, with that, I would entertain, there's an action item following executive session, and I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the school board move forward with the termination of Mr. Blake Thornburg, and that the resolution of termination be entered into the minutes.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All right, we'll do roll call vote. Chris?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Kaya?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Justin?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. Motion carried. So, all right. Sorry, I keep jumping around here. I don't have all my stuff lined up. Okay, it's not really an action item, but I think Lauren needs a little counsel and help.
Yes.
Let's see here. Jumping in. kind of into our general board discussion. And this all kind of stems out of this virus situation. And I think we don't have a copy for you guys online, I guess. Is there anything, we don't have a way to email this or anything, do we?
I can tomorrow.
Okay. And there may be some stuff to get feedback to Lauren tomorrow from each of us or however, but I don't know, you want to kind of explain
Yes.
what you're up
So,
against?
what I'm looking for tonight is some guidance and I would say support on an ever-evolving situation on not our classified staff, not our salaried staff. This is all about certified staff. Classified, sorry. I'm getting a lot of questions about, will I be paid if we're off 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks? So that question was discussed with KSDE this at 12:30 today, and Dale asked for superintendents to provide feedback, and I probably have read 60 feedbacks from superintendents. Every one of them has every intent of paying the classified staff for as long as this will go on, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We know that we have a lot of people in the school district who are, they're banking on this check. They're living from check to check. And if we were to not pay them because they're not working, I think we'd be doing a great disservice to a lot of people that have done a good job for us. So one of the things that Jim, the board president, asked was for Audra just to show you the numbers. And you, Audra, would you kind of just hit on that real quick?
Yeah, so should the school year be extended, these are the list of people who we would potentially have to pay more. And so that's what the numbers on this third page reflect. So for 1 week, it would be 45,500 approximately. For 2 weeks, it would be a little over 91,000, and for 3 weeks, 136,650.
Now, playing into all of this is a possible waiver that the Governor Kelly could pass. Right now, Dale and Randy Watson are telling us just to sit tight, let this thing play out. When we learn a little bit more about how long we're going to be out, I have a very, very strong feeling that by Thursday of this week, they're going to announce another week for next week that we won't have school. Some counties, like Leavenworth, they just went with 1 week, and they were reevaluating at the end of the week. And Shawnee County, Douglas County, was it Shawnee County or Shawnee? Yeah, it was. And I think Jefferson County did too. They all went 2 weeks. It's just 2 weeks. So what I would like to be able to tell our staff is that our intent is to pay them so they don't worry about, are they not going to have a check a month from now, right, Audra?
Right.
They're getting paid on the
Right.
20th. This is about another month down the road. And so that all plays into our decision of are we going to make up these days? Is the state going to allow us to make up these days, extend days or whatever? Right now, it's just a moving target. But those people, I mean, our classified staff really want to know from us what our intent is. And I just feel that, I mean, there's empathy here, but it's also, it's going to cost us.
So, I mean, I don't understand how we can't run the school without them. We have to all believe that we're gonna be back to school in a matter of days or weeks. And if these people go get another job
Yep.
somewhere, we can't run the school. So I don't know that we have any other option other than to move forward. Now, you said pay them as long as this lasts, and blank checks are a little bit scary to me, but I don't know that we have an option other than to pay these people, because we gotta have them.
This is a leap of faith, because I don't know how long we're gonna be out. Or if they even just suspend the school year. I mean, I don't think that'll happen, but I don't know either. But by that I mean, they're just gonna, hey, we're done.
What are we commit to? Are we committing to week?
I
Are we
would, I,
committing to a month?
I,
Are we-
I would
mean,
go,
like
I would
this-
go a month at a time. I think on this, we'll learn a lot more in the next week or two.
I think to say if we said we supported it for a month, then, you know, that's
90,000.
90K.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably where
I
I'd
mean,
be.
that's not inconsequential, but, you know, we can't educate the kids without these people.
And we
I
would
think
have been
gotta-
paying them anyway, had they been here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the counter,
Doesn't-
the counter argument is if the year gets extended, it's in the budget and we've already spent it.
Yes.
And then we're gonna have to spend it
It'd be
down the
additional
road.
dollars. June would be
I mean-
additional dollars.
But you're talking about 1 month, right? Because
I would
the
go
year
1
has
month
to
at a
end by
time.
June 30.
Yeah, well, what we're probably talking about is the last 2 weeks of May and the first 4 weeks of June. I mean, I really don't know, Stephanie, if it's gonna go that long. I don't know. But my thought was we go a month at a time. In the April board meeting, we discuss this again. We'll have more information, undoubtedly. But this would kind of give Audra some guidance on the people that are gonna ask, we're getting a lot of questions about.
I'd be asking.
Yeah, I can, so, does that make sense?
No, it does, and I would say Lauren and I had this conversation yesterday, so it's just hard to, it's a very difficult situation to, to make that decision on its own, but I mean, I can understand for a month. I think in my recollection of our budget, the emergency, or the contingency fund has got $400,000 to $500,000 in it,
Yes.
so it's not like 200 would
Well, they
break us.
They call that the emergency fund, and this is an emergency.
No, I know. So I guess, I mean, that helps if we would have to, if we pay this now, we pay it again, for extending the school year.
I think the risk is you send a message that you're not gonna pay them. Half of them are gonna go look for it and
Yep.
probably get other jobs.
Yep.
And then this all blows over in 30 days and we can't educate the kids because we don't have these people. So I don't know that you have an option.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask this here though. How are we gonna track that? Are these people gonna have to report in I mean, what gets somebody from going to get another job and while we're paying them as well?
That was brought up.
Are there any jobs out there to be had right now?
Well, I wouldn't think there'd be too many, but are we gonna have these people attest weekly or monthly that they don't have another job or something? I mean, I don't mean, I'm not trying to be difficult or
I think it's a valid concern.
Do they qualify for unemployment benefits?
Well, currently they wouldn't, because they're under contract. And if
But essentially, you're unemployed.
well, is that by their choice, or, I mean, it's not a bad question, Chris. I would need to get a little bit more, information on that. What are the what ifs?
Right.
Yeah. This has all been so fast, and,
Oh, absolutely.
Qualified, it's insurance expense to us.
yes.
is there, I mean, I
What
guess
I-
I would be encouraged to keep pushing forward, trying to, pay them.
I think.
But I don't, I mean, I also brought up to yesterday, and I don't know if you've talked to Audra much about this, is at least my work is we're having to especially code our current situation. Now, I'm not unemployed, but you have to code it to track it for this certain event. So I guess, because, I mean, there's been some talk about paid leave and reimbursing people, and I think we need, if we could track it, I would feel better that, these people were off, they didn't, and we, I don't know, maybe we could get reimbursement down the road or whatnot, but I think we should somehow track this a little, in some manner.
Well, I think we could hold, a caveat that if something came through from a stimulus perspective, we could reserve the right to reassess.
Yeah. I just think at this time, with everybody being so concerned about what's going to happen, we need to send a powerful message of support for our current staff. And that's what I'm asking for is, I want to reach out, communicate with them and reassure them.
Is there any other thoughts? Those on the phone?
I got disconnected for a minute, so if somebody already talked about this, I apologize, but I was just wondering, I would guess that there's also savings by not having students in the buildings, like on utilities and gas for the buses and,
Yeah, there is. Haven't put a pencil to it.
well, no, I'm just saying that some of the numbers on costs that you're paying out are probably a little bit lower, cause you could deduct those
Yes.
savings, right?
Yes, there's a trade-off there. But we sure want to keep our people. I mean, currently, just the number, our sped department with Baser and ours, we're down 17 paras. And not having a lot of people coming in and trying to fill those spots. And if we don't do this, that number is going to double easily. And so I know that our sped director is trying so hard to keep good people in some difficult positions. And we feel like we have some really strong aides that we certainly don't want to put them in a bad spot. That's really the crux of this.
I'm hearing, I think you should probably try to move forward and look at some of the HR and implications and.
Yeah. Don't ask Audra now, she's in payroll mode. So, right, I think that's true. So it's, we gotta get some other things done. I would really appreciate, if I'm hearing you right, Jim, that I need to reach out and reassure these people that we're gonna pay them on a month-by-month analysis and review.
Yeah, I think that sounds.
I support that.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've-
All right, thank you guys, that's what I need.
All right, I think we're at the end.
You have all your stuff signed, everything?
Chris, there's a minutes thing that you gotta sign for Audra, or I don't know if we can have somebody sign it for you, maybe.
What about this?
And we have another action that needs signed by everyone, we might have to route that around for her. We'll communicate with everyone about getting some signatures here.
Well, one thing, the district office, Audra's gonna be there all week, and been one of the assistants. They're answering phones and giving some help.
Well, I think if there's an item that you need signed, there may be reaching out to you and trying to find an electronic way to do some items, so
Yeah.
let's just leave it at that, I think, for now.
Yeah, give Audra a call.
If we need an actual signature, you'll be contacted. All right,
Okay.
with that, the meeting is adjourned.